All right, well, this will be try number two of post thoughts for Marvel's Avengers Infinity War. The original attempt that I made coming right out of the theater was unfortunately I can't explain what happened because I'm not really sure. Something was wrong with the file. I'm pretty sure it was somehow corrupted because just putting it through the editing software to just take out a few, interruptions, a few background noises and whatnot, and then tack on a little logo that I'd made. It just kept crashing the whole thing. The application just kept freezing up, and it wouldn't process the file. And even just trying to upload it directly, something was up. So in a way, I took that just as a sign that, well, I'll tackle this at a later date. And I'm kind of glad I had just a few days to sit on this, because here we are 48 hours after the fact, watching the movie. And still, all I can think, the first thing that comes to mind when just looking back on it, on what I've experienced, is emotional. Emotions are still running high when I think back on it, and that's great. This is a very emotional experience in the theater, and I would imagine it'll translate even well just watching it on computer, on handheld devices, because of the content, the characters, and the story, and where it's now going. Left and right, it's been, the entire marketing campaign has been 10 years, 10 years in the making, all these movies, all these Marvel characters in their own films, their own franchises coming forward, and now for the first time, all of them are together in this big, epic, grandiose spectacle. And I don't give in to hype. I really don't follow any. I certainly don't follow any news. I don't look into potential spoilers. I don't even look into theories online, unless it's friends, unless it's people I know. And then I'm happy to check in on them and see what they think. Because I mean that's fun. When you know someone and you realize that, well, they're not going to intentionally throw something known out there. But overall, just hype, I always stay away from. This is an instance, however, you can't have a build up your own sort of hype, your own expectation inside, because this has been so long coming. They have been building up to this for years, and with so many movies, with so many characters, that you're going to have some preconceived ideas in your head, and fears, I'm sure. And oh Lord, is that whatever makes this just quite a roller coaster ride of a movie? It's just with just peaks and valleys, emotional highs and lows. And here's the thing. I am going to say wholeheartedly, this is one of the most emotionally satisfying movies I've seen in a while. It certainly is the most out of all the Marvel films. And I say emotionally satisfying because it has earned these peaks and these highs and lows. I mean, man, of course I'm not going to say anything that could give away any details in the slightest, because everything from the get-go, from start to finish, it's a spectacle that just really needs to be seen. Of course, it's all carried through by Thanos, who is the centerpiece of this movie, and what I've been seeing left and right on some of the just a few of the reviews that I've gone ahead and checked out while waiting to make this, is that they all agree across the board. Thanos is a highlight. He definitely does not let you down. I'll give you that. As a villain, he delivers. He delivers the goods. He's been worth the wait. I'm sure some people will say, well, they could have done a better job building him up in the past movies. Of course. Yeah, that's a given. Of course they could have done that. But They didn't. And here's the thing, they really didn't need to, because right here, it's pretty remarkable. It's pretty remarkable to see just how his journey in this movie plays out. It's very much his story. And we as viewers are following him from place to place as new groups of Avengers come together, as they encounter him, they confront him, and they realize, just what they're up against. For the first time in a long time, stakes are high, the drama, the tension in this movie is really high the whole way through. Because they see, Tony was right. Tony Stark was right all along. We may lose this. We may not be able to come out on top. And that's great. Again, all earned. It pays off so well. And that's just what a lot of these franchise movies don't understand. They're not taking their time to build. When it comes to world building, they're all rushing, or they're going about it in a way that it's spectacle first, and not the characters. Characters are secondary, and that's a shame. Here, thankfully, Infinity War delivers the goods on the emotional front, the dramatic side. It goes serious, it goes dark. In terms of the villain, in terms of the antagonist, it really delivers. It surprisingly delivers. And it's great with all the interactions that you get to see between these characters. It's like, that does not let you down. That it's always been consistently good, and here everyone shines. Everyone plays off of each other so well. And one critique that I've been hearing on the reviews that I've seen is that they don't like, for some reason they're not liking that, certain characters are doing things that they wouldn't do. That in their own movies it's been established, they wouldn't make this decision, they wouldn't act this way. They chalk it up to it being different directors this time, it being the Russo brothers, and not any of the characters' past directors. And it's like, I don't think that they're seeing the broader scope here. I don't think that they're seeing everything. There's a lot going on in this movie, granted. There's a ton of things happening at the same time, and for a lot of people it's going to merit multiple viewings. But the thing is, I don't think a lot of these critics and reviewers are seeing that it's not that these characters are acting out of character. They're doing something that they normally wouldn't do. It isn't that at all. It's like, no, I don't think you've been paying attention to that broader scope, to the whole canvas up until now. It's like, no, this character actually has a more broadened view, as a good example. It's like, no, he has seen things. He has seen things none of the other Avengers will ever know, even Tony Stark. So the way that he goes from overly protective and saying, like, no, this is the bottom line at all costs. There is no faltering. This is what needs to be done. Screw all of you. You all be damned. It's like, there have to be sacrifices. To go from that to suddenly making a decision that gets kind of thrown out. It seems to be thrown out the window. It really isn't. It's just that we're talking about a character that has, again, his perception is much bigger. It's much grander than any of these other characters can fathom. So he understands. He gets it. And that's why he makes the decision. He's like, no, you know what? I was wrong. This is what needs to happen. This is what needs to be done. Okay? And it might throw a few people for a loop, just seeing that. Or another example, another character being rash and reckless. And it's like, again, that's not out of character. And the argument for that is, well, no, there's been previous movies now. There's been enough previous movies where he should have learned from it. Yes, should have, but look back. Did he learn? Did he ever grasp that you need to keep a cool head? You can't rush blindly ahead. You can't be impulsive. It just leads to problems. It doesn't lead to the solution. It's like, no, he's never learned that. If anything, through victories, through his victories and accomplishments, he's actually just learned that things will work themselves out in the end. As dire as they seem, don't worry, all's well that ends well, eventually. It's like, no, that's still keeping him in with his character. Making ridiculous choices in the spur of the moment, in the heat of the moment, because those impulsive feelings are, they're what make us people. You can relate to that. And it's like, no, he wouldn't have learned by now. He hasn't learned the lesson. Possibly, maybe this will be a turning point for him. That would be great to see, actually. So no, in the long run, the Russos have done a great job keeping up with these characters, connecting all the dots that Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige have put together, and keeping it all consistent. Every character, for me, they feel consistent. I'll name another little quick example without naming names. There is a character that has just, up until this point, been so adamant and so against Thanos. Like from the get-go, from the very beginning, it's been a defining character. It's been a defining part of her character. She has lain down, by example, exactly why he is to be feared, why he is such a dangerous presence. And here again, she goes on this journey, she goes on this arc where I guess a lot of people would think, well, you of all people should have known, you should have realized. So again, they'll feel, well, that was out of character for her, but it's like, I have to bring it back again and say, no, actually, it's because she's always had this perception, it's because that's always been part of her character that this occurs, that this happens, and why she never sees this coming. She doesn't imagine, she doesn't expect that there could actually be this within Thanos that exists. And it does, and it throws her for a loop. It destroys her perception for just a moment, for just a minute. And you see that. It's great. It's great. You see that the expectation has just been shattered for her. She never thought this could be possible, and yet it is. And we get to see that all really from the point of view of Thanos, from the villain. He's going on this very much, it's kind of a pilgrimage, a personal pilgrimage, doing what he feels needs to be done. He is the being with the know-how, with the perception, and the understanding, the realization that I actually have a chance to do something, to be able to do something about this. And he acts on it. He goes forth on this pilgrimage, and there's your story. There's where it takes off. And you realize there's a lot more to it than him just wanting power. That's not what he wants at all. It's far from it. And again, that's great. I love it. I will not agree with those who say, though, that, he's actually oddly sympathetic, or you actually can see his side of things if you put yourself in that omniscient mindset that he sees himself in. It's like, yeah, you can understand his anger. It's like, no. Once again, this is just like Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones. A brilliant example for me, just because, like a brilliant correlation. Because again, a lot of fellow fans of Game of Thrones that I get along with and talk to, either online or just friends who love the show, will eventually come to the point where they're like, yeah, I like that at some point you got to understand where a character like Jaime, who's done horrible things, where he's coming from. And you finally sympathize with him, and you see, oh, okay, there is a reason to it. It's like, yes, you see the reason. It doesn't mean you have to accept why the character is doing that or sympathize with the character. It's like, no, if that's what you see, great for you. But I don't see that because no, that doesn't outweigh the horrible things that they are doing to reach that goal, to reach that end game. And that in terms of Thanos, like, yeah, I can see the reason why he's doing what he's doing. Doesn't mean I have to like him. Doesn't mean I have to go along with him. The only thing I will grant you is that, like all the best villains, like the truly great villains in cinema and in literature, what it does do, best of all, is it plants that little idea in your head, that sensation of, huh, I'm curious what would happen if he did get what he wanted, if he did accomplish his goal. And again, signs of a great antagonist. If they just get you thinking that, you've done something right with them. And Thanos, they've done, like I said, did a great job. Josh Brolin putting in an amazing performance that comes through with all the special effects that make the character. You can still see every little nuance. They went out of their way to just capture that. His emotions, and this is a character that, yes, very much has emotions. He's not a mindless big bad. He's not a monster in the slightest. Yeah, this is a character who thinks, who has his own code, who has a personal philosophy, and he's got the know-how and means to be able to go through with it. He truly believes, I'm going to accomplish this, and it will set things right. And he actually feels a degree of respect and a bit of sympathy for his fallen opponents, those getting in his way who are just brushed aside. When he sees their conviction, he responds to that with respect, and it's like, damn. Not much more to say about a chivalrous villain than, yeah, you've got to respect that. Again, doesn't mean I have to like the guy. And it's wonderful that it begins and ends with this goal, with this journey of his. It's like then he sets off, and will he proceed? Will he succeed? Yeah, well, we shall see. We shall see. And one way or another, a lot's going to go down. A lot happens. And yeah, there are some losses. But wow. Disney, not just Marvel Studios, just Disney, for taking these risks and for allowing them to actually happen. There have been so many speculations of what's going to happen, who are we going to lose, and to see them actually go along with this plan, it's like, oh, it's so well done. That is so satisfying. It's sad, and I will say this is not a movie to take. This definitely is not a Marvel movie to take any kids to see, because they will be traumatized. They will be stunned. And I'm pretty sure a few will leave theaters crying. Because, oh man, it's sad to see, but wow, is it satisfying that Disney had the conviction to go through with this and see it through. And we will very much see the possibility of them, being able to rescue some characters, being able to save some in the future. Because there's another Avengers movie already planned. It's already done, ready to go. So yeah, we'll get to see that next year. But for now, this very much is... It is the emotional equivalent that my parents talked about in terms of movie-going experiences to the original Empire Strikes Back. They were saying when they saw that ending and those last few moments before credits, like they were just left stunned and, emotionally drained, and both frustrated that there wasn't more, and yet looking totally forward to watching how this will continue on in the next installment. Like they couldn't wait. That's very much this movie. Really. And as a child watching Empire Strikes Back on VHS, yeah, that is kind of a comparable feeling. It's like, what? That's it? What? No, no. And then at the same time thinking, I can't wait. I can't wait for, I can't wait to see where they go with this, because I'm going to tell you, Marvel made good on their promise. After this, nothing will be the same. You know, the entire plane, the entire gaming field, with all the pieces put in place, it has all changed completely. I am very much looking forward to see where they take it from here, because man, Phase 3 has been so great. So they just keep surprising. They just keep surprising me with all their movies. That, oh, you're getting better and better, and you're taking risks. You're taking chances. You're breaking away from mold and yeah, getting away from expectation. You're subverting expectation, which is fantastic. And here especially, by the time the credits roll, and I was sitting there in just a stunned, silent theater, I just knew. I knew looking up at that screen, it's like, yo, this was not only worth it, this was an achievement. This is an achievement, Marvel and Disney and Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers. Oh my God, the Russos. Civil War really was just, it was just a training ground for you, wasn't it? It was a testing field to see how you could handle multiple characters and make them work in one cohesive story. And it's like, and you did it. You knocked it out of the ballpark with Civil War. And now you're in Infinity War. It's like, yeah. Yeah, those of us that put our faith in the Russo brothers as directors, we are rewarded. Because they've cranked out just such an incredible movie. An incredible movie-going experience. That, no, it doesn't stand on its own. Reviewers and critics, you're right, you're totally right. That's a valid critique. This was never meant to stand on its own. This was built up to piece by piece. This is just very much a center point. It's a climax. It's a peak. It's an event. And my God. My God, it's an event that delivers. I cannot wait to see what lies in store. And yet, at the same time, I'm already very grateful, so grateful, to live in a time where these movies are possible, where this whole franchise, this whole series, has been made possible. Because it's pretty darn impressive. And like I said before, it's something you've got to respect, you've got to admire. And me personally, I have to celebrate it. So while some very pessimistic moviegoers, I'm sure, who are only into these movies casually, if that, might think that they've been cheated or something, or says, oh man, all that build up and what was it leading for? What? For this? For them to just spit in our faces and do this to to such beloved characters, and then leave us like that with what now? With the questions unanswered? If people like that feel betrayed and have an urge to give up on these movies, if this is like the straw that breaks their backs for comic book movies in general, it's like, well, that's sad. That's sad, because really, this was meant to do the opposite. It gets us, I feel, totally hooked back into these comic book movies. Like, and even if you were pessimistic about them beforehand and were saying, yeah, they've kind of run their course, I'm getting that superhero fatigue. Here in Infinity War, this movie just hooks you. I guarantee it's going to hook you, and you're like, oh man, You got me again. Take my money. I'm in. I mean, what else you got? That's I mean, that's the best. That is the best that I see for this film. I mean, it's so good that the end. This was the first time that an entire audience actually stayed. They stayed through the credits because no matter what, even though Marvel has proven that, yeah, you're always going to get something at the end. I mean, let's face it, Marvel Studios is what made that the norm. What's to be expected? A lot of people, let's face it, yeah, in the movie theater, sometimes they have places to go. They have other things they have to do, and so a lot will say. The thinking of them is, I can always go back and see the bonus material afterwards, see the Easter egg at the end at a later date, which is fine. Here, man, just I've never seen an entire theater just waiting for something, for some little glimmer of extra hope at the end, or a tease of just something more. What we got? Here's where Marvel Studios is now. Here's the power that they wield over us in theaters. What we get is a symbol. We get a symbol. We don't get to see a new character. We don't really even get to be given again, like I said, a glimmer of hope that the audience was expecting. No, we get a symbol that, sure, half the theater was tilting their heads, scratching their heads and wondering, what? Well, where's that from? Gotta Google it, gotta look it up. Some of them did know where it's from right away, and I couldn't help it. That was the one point where vocally I just had to... As soon as that symbol hit the screen at the end of the credits, I was just like, yes! That was my exact reaction in the theater, and I was like, I don't regret it, because it paid off. It was worth it. It's a wonderful ride from start to finish. And again, here's to what's in store for the future. So I highly recommend this. Go out and check it. Go out and see Avengers: Infinity War. You will not be disappointed. You'll be a little emotionally drained, I can guarantee that, but you'll leave with a lot to talk about, guaranteed. Thank you all for your time, and here's looking forward to Marvelocity with newfound eagerness and determination. Take care, all.